Alright, hello everybody. Today I'm going to be showing you how I do my own personal setups. I personally like the quick detach and go and change mode. I don't have my pole with me actually. They're not in my possession at the current time. But on my line I always have either an eyelet, a swivel eye like this. See it? Something similar to that on my line, or I just had it. It would be a double hook. Oh, here we go. A double hook, something like this. So you can see that you can actually open up both ends. I actually prefer to have something like those. How I set it up is first I do my little leaders. Depending on what I have setups for everything. This one would actually be for a worm hookup because it's a worm hook, obviously. So for my worm hookups, I usually about 12 inches. This one right now, currently the way it stands, would be a weightless. This would just hook up to the eyelet on my actual line on my pole. This is what is this? This is the Vicious. This is I think 14-pound test, which I use actual 10-pound test on my rigs. I like to go light. It's more fun when you know that the fish might break your line and you gotta take your time getting it in. I kind of enjoy the fight. But this wouldn't be one setup. And then how I set up my weight, because obviously that would be a weightless. If you're fishing a lot of worms, sometimes you're gonna fish the top. You can also put lizards and whatnot on the same hook. So instead of adding clip-on weights, because they usually slide, fall off, I personally just don't like the clip-on weights. So what I do is I make a little mini leader that's usually 6 to 8 inches long. This one's a little bit longer. This one is actually, I have this one, it's set up for one of the frogs. There's some small ponds that I fish at, and this is the actual size that I use for the frogs, because when the egg sinker sinks to the bottom, the frog is actually just below the surface or at the surface level, and it just keeps them there. And then the weight actually gives it more realistic movement. I've noticed sometimes it is a little bit of a complex rig if you think about it, but it's actually what works for me, and I can change it on the fly. Now the only downside is, let me move those out of the way, I go through a lot of barrel swivels. Now they are really cheap. The basic kinds that I use would be these two right here. Those would be the two basic barrel swivels that I like. You got it's the one-piece steel that's wrapped around, as soon as the camera can focus in on it. But it's the one piece that's wrapped around the brass swivel. And this one isn't exactly the one. Like I said, I like the ones that have the double, so you can open up both. Because what I like to do is go ahead and separate it from the swivel. I'll put this on my line and then put the swivel on my lead. That way I have that connection, and I always can just take it off, change it. If I say I'm fishing for bass and I want to switch it up and go for some bluegill or something like that, I can easily just take that off and slap on one of my leads that I have set up for little jig heads. So a lot of the times what I'll end up doing is you can find some that are on sale. A lot of the times all I really go for is just the actual swivels. Like these ones right here are really small. Usually use these for like crappie, the really small ones. I believe those are like a size 1. These are the size 7. I like size 7s, size 8s. those would mainly go for my bass. That's what I usually go for, bass. Usually don't go for anything bigger than bass. I personally don't like, carp is fun, but I don't really have the setups for carp. They don't usually grab anything I get. If I get a carp, it's usually because I snagged it. So, but yeah, that's how I do my setups. One that I already have. This one is actually, he's got a true tungsten, and it's on the Texas rig, no hook. And then at the very end, as you can see, I have this one. This one actually is set for a certain pole. I have one pole that actually has a swivel on it, and the other ones have the hooks. Reason for it is it's a lot stronger of a pull, and the lines are a lot stronger on these ones. So this is usually what I use for bass, catfish, something like along those lines. So this one is a lot heavier setup. But those would be my swivels, how I set up my swivels, my little leaders, how I like to basically get set up, and then my nifty little sinker leader. The actual size on the leaders, I've actually made them as small as like 2 inches, just to have a detachable leader. It's just ideas. Other, all fishermen, all anglers have their own little things that they do. I don't actually mind having two little connectors, swivel connectors on my line. It doesn't affect my fishing. It hasn't affected anything. I mean, if anything, it makes it better because I can change my rig and my setup really quick. I don't have to cut no line. Don't have to tie knots. I do most of my knot tying at home, so that way, I mean, I got some pretty big, big hands, so tying little line like this is actually it's kind of hard sometimes. So I tie all my lines at home, I do all my setups at home, and then when I get to wherever it is I'm fishing, I can quickly change and adapt my my rigging and my setup to whatever it is I want.